You ever find yourself wondering why you need so much control in your relationships? I'm talking about that really powerful, sometimes kind of urgent need for things to be a certain way. Well, today, we're going to dig into how that feeling often has roots that stretch all the way back to our childhood.
Just let this one sink in for a second. In adult relationships, you need routine and reassurance because as a child, the rules were always shifting. Does that hit home for you at all? For a lot of us, it strikes a really deep chord, and together, we're about to find out exactly why that is. All right, so let's start with what's happening right now, this present-day puzzle, that often misunderstood, intense need for reassurance that just keeps showing up in our adult lives. Maybe some of this sounds familiar, like an intense need for a routine, or you find yourself constantly looking for reassurance from your partner, or maybe you get that sudden jolt of anxiety when plans change unexpectedly. It's this deep, deep desire to just know what's coming next. These aren't just little quirks about you. They're usually signals pointing to something much, much deeper.
So all of this leads us to the big question, right? Where does this really intense need for stability actually come from?
Well, it turns out the answer isn't usually in the present at all. We have to look back to the echoes of our past, specifically to a childhood where the rules just felt like they were always changing.
I mean, just think about the huge difference between these two worlds. In one, you've got a stable world. There's a foundation of security, right? The rules are consistent, emotions are predictable. But in the other world, it's chaotic. The rules can change without any warning, sudden emotional outbursts are just normal, and a kid is left feeling totally unsafe all the time. It's in that world that our story really begins. So in an environment like that, in a world that just doesn't make sense, a child's brain has to figure out a way to adapt. And what it does is, well, it's actually something pretty brilliant to survive.
And this is where we see the birth of a brand new strategy. That's the moment the brain learns to equate control with the feeling of safety. In psychology, they actually have a name for this, a protective mechanism. Basically, it's a survival strategy that kicks in when you're in an unstable environment. Creating control, creating predictability, that becomes the only way you know how to feel safe. And it's not a conscious choice, it's a gut-level survival imperative. So how does this whole thing play out? Well, when you break it down, it's actually pretty logical. First, the child experiences that constant chaos, right? Second, the brain, whose number one job is always to protect us, starts desperately searching for safety. And third, the child learns, usually without even realizing it, that by controlling their environment, even in tiny ways, they can create this little pocket of predictability, a sense of safety that's totally missing otherwise. Okay, and this is where it all comes full circle, right back to our adult lives. This is the adult echo. It's what happens when that old childhood programming gets suddenly triggered here in the present. So picture this. It's a super common scenario. Your partner has a sudden, unexpected outburst, or maybe they change your plans for the night at the very last minute. Now, for a lot of people, this might just be a minor annoyance, but for you, it could feel like something way, way bigger.
And that gets you wondering why. Why does this seemingly small thing feel like such a massive threat?
It's because your brain's alarm system is still running on old software. It's still wired for those old, shifting rules from your childhood. So the thing happening today isn't just being seen on its own. It's waking up this deep, historical memory of danger.
Here's a great way to think about it. To your inner protector, a sudden outburst isn't just an outburst. It's a direct threat to your stability. That old mechanism, the one that was designed to keep you safe as a kid, it just leaps into action, treating a minor change like it's a major crisis. So what do we do with all this information? How do we move forward? Well, it really starts with developing a whole new perspective, with understanding your inner protector. And here's probably the most important thing I want you to take away from all this. This need for control, it is not a character flaw. It's an old survival tool. It was a completely logical, even intelligent response to chaos. And just understanding it, really seeing it for what it is, that's the first huge step toward learning how to manage it in a new way. I want you to remember this, let it really sink in. Your need for control isn't who you are. It's what you did to survive. It's a testament to your resilience, not some kind of definition of your character. And so I'll just leave you with this one last question to think about. This protective mechanism was once a shield, and it did a great job of keeping you safe. But what happens when that shield starts to feel more like a cage?